Chapter 15. A Trap, 1800. A few days after the master had forbidden Cathy to visit Linton, he asked my opinion of the boy. "Tell me honestly, Ellen, what do you think of his character?" "Well, sir, I don't think he's wicked like his father. But you'll have plenty of time to get to know him, sir. He's too young to marry yet." Mr. Edgar walked to the window and looked out. It was a misty February evening, but the churchyard was just visible. "I've often prayed for death, Ellen. I've been very happy with my little Cathy, but I've been just as happy lying through the long June evenings on her mother's grave and looking forward to the moment when I can join Catherine there. I haven't got much time left, Ellen. What can I do for Cathy before I die? Should she marry Linton? I wouldn't mind him being Heathcliff's son if only he loved her and could be a good husband to her." "God will show us what to do, sir," I replied. In the spring, Mr. Edgar was still ill, and he continued to worry about Cathy's future. One day, he wrote to Linton, inviting him to visit the Grange. Linton wrote a long letter back, explaining that his father would not allow him to do that. He begged his uncle to let him meet Cathy for a walk or a ride on the moors between the Grange and Wuthering Heights, as they could not meet in either house. Mr. Edgar refused at first, and Linton sent him several more letters. I am sure they had all been carefully checked by Heathcliff before they were posted. Finally, Mr. Edgar agreed. He hoped that, if Cathy married Linton, who would inherit the Linton fortune, she would at least be able to remain in her family home. He had no idea that Linton was seriously ill. Neither did I. I never imagined that a father could treat a dying child as cruelly and wickedly as we later discovered Heathcliff had done. It was a hot, sunny day in summer when Cathy and I rode out to meet her cousin. We were both shocked to discover that he could neither ride nor walk, and was lying on the grass waiting for us. He looked even paler and weaker than the last time I had seen him. During our meeting, he did not seem interested in Cathy or her news. Cathy noticed this immediately. "Well, Linton," she said after a while, "you don't want to talk to me, so I think I'll go home." "No, no," he cried, getting quite excited. "Not yet. Stay at least another half hour. My father will be angry with me if you leave early." "I suppose we can stay a few minutes longer," said Cathy. We waited, talking to each other quietly, while Linton slept a little. Sometimes he cried out in pain. "Do you think his health is better now than before?" whispered Cathy. "I'm sorry, Miss Cathy. I think it's much worse," I answered. Cathy called her pony, and the sound woke Linton up. "If you see my father," he said, hesitating, "could you tell him I've been cheerful? He'll be here soon." And he looked round in terror. "I'll be here next Thursday," cried Cathy, as she jumped on her pony. "Come on, Ellen." In the week that followed, Mr. Edgar's illness grew worse every day. Cathy could not avoid realising how serious it was, and sat by his bedside day and night, looking sad and pale. Her father's room had become her whole world. On Thursday, I thought a ride in the fresh air would be good for her, and Mr. Edgar gladly gave her permission to see Linton. He was hoping that she would not be left alone after his death. I did not want to worry him in his last moments, so I did not tell him that Linton was also dying. We rode onto the moors and found Linton lying in the same place as before. He was looking very frightened. "I thought you weren't going to come," he said. "Why won't you be honest?" cried Cathy at once. "Why have you brought me here again if you don't want to see me? My father's very ill, and I should be with him." Tears rolled down Linton's face. He seemed terrified. "Oh, I can't bear it," he sobbed. "Cathy, I daren't explain, but if you leave me, he'll kill me. Dear Cathy, my life is in your hands. Kind, sweet Cathy, perhaps you will agree, and then he won't hurt me." Cathy was no longer impatient. "Agree to what, Linton?" she asked gently. "Tell me everything. You wouldn't do anything to hurt me, would you, Linton? I'm your best friend." "I daren't tell you. My father—" The boy gasped. Just then, Heathcliff appeared. He did not look at Cathy and Linton, who continued talking to each other, but he spoke quietly to me. "Ellen, how is Edgar? Is he dying, as the villagers say?" "It's true the master's dying," I answered. "That boy over there is dying too. I only hope Edgar dies before him. If Linton dies first, my plan will fail." He shouted angrily to his son, "Get up, Linton!" and then said politely to Cathy, "Miss Cathy, would you help him back to the house? He can't walk far alone." "Father has forbidden me to enter your house," said Cathy. "Well, come along, Linton. I'll have to take you home then," said Heathcliff. "No, no, no! Please, Cathy, you must come with me!" screamed Linton wildly. He held desperately onto her arm. Cathy could not refuse the boy, who seemed almost mad with fear. So we all walked the few steps to Wuthering Heights. When we had entered the house, however, I was horrified to see Heathcliff lock the front door. The key was in his hand. "Hareton, Joseph, and Zillah are all out of the house," he said calmly. "So we are quite alone." "Give me that key!" cried Cathy angrily. "I'm not afraid of you!" She took hold of his closed hand and bit it. He hit her violently several times on both sides of the head, and she fell into a chair, trembling. I rushed at him, but he pushed me away. "Cry as much as you like, Miss Cathy," he said. "In a few days, I'll be your father, and I'll punish you just like that as often as necessary." When Heathcliff went out to look for our horses, Cathy and I hurried round the kitchen looking for a way to escape. But all the doors and windows were locked. Linton was sitting calmly in a chair near the fire, happy that he was not being punished this time. We persuaded him to explain his father's plan to us. Father is afraid I'll die soon, you see. So he wants us to be married tomorrow morning. You'll have to stay here all night, Cathy. Then perhaps he'll let you go home in the morning. You marry this beautiful, healthy young lady? I cried. You must be mad. And wicked too. You and your father have tricked us into coming here. And I shook him until he started coughing. I must go home now. Father will be worried already, said Cathy. I love Father better than you, Linton. Heathcliff returned and sent his son upstairs to bed. Mr. Heathcliff, begged Cathy, Father will be miserable if I don't go home. Please let me go. I promised to marry Linton. Father would like it, and I love him. Why do you force me to do something I want to do? He can't force you, I cried. I'll go to the police. To the devil with you, Ellen. Miss Cathy, I'm delighted that your father will be miserable. In that case, you will certainly stay here for 24 hours. You won't leave here until you've kept your promise to marry Linton. Please send Ellen to let Father know I'm safe, sobbed Cathy bitterly. Poor Father. He'll think we're lost. Your father must have hated you when you came into the world. I did at least. And he'll hate you as he leaves it. Go on crying. That's what you'll be doing when you're Linton's wife. He'll make a cruel, selfish husband, I think. Heathcliff took us upstairs to Zilla's room, where we spent the night locked in. Neither of us could sleep. At 7 the following morning, he came to fetch Cathy and took her away. From that moment, I saw nobody except Hareton, who brought me food, for 4 whole days and nights. On the 5th morning, Zilla came into the room. She was surprised and pleased to see me, and told me the villagers all thought Cathy and I had got lost on the moors and died 4 days ago. I ran out of the room to look for Cathy. The big kitchen was full of sunshine and the door was open, but the only person there was Linton. Where is she? Where is Miss Cathy? I cried wildly. Upstairs, in a locked room, he replied calmly, eating a piece of sugar. We won't let her go yet. Father says I shouldn't be soft with Cathy. We've had the wedding ceremony, so she's my wife now, and must stay with me. I don't care if she cries or is ill. Have you forgotten her kindness to you last winter when you wrote that you loved her, and she used to come through wind and snow to see you? Now you believe your father's lies about her, and you leave her alone, ill and crying in a strange house. You pity yourself, but you won't pity her. What a heartless, selfish boy you are. I can't stay with her. She cries so much I can't bear it. I can't sleep with all that noise. She promised that if I gave her the key to our room, she'd give me all her nice books and her pony. But I told her she had nothing to give. They're all mine. Or they'll belong to me very soon. And then she cried and took a little gold case from around her neck. Inside were 2 pictures, one of her mother and one of her father. I wanted to take them both from her, but she wouldn't let me, so I screamed for help. My father came and ordered her to give him the pictures and the case. When she refused, he hit her on the face and knocked her down and broke the gold case under his foot. He took away the picture of her mother. And were you pleased to see Miss Cathy hurt? I asked. My father was right to punish her. But I didn't like seeing her mouth full of blood. She can't speak because of the pain. Now you've made me tired with all this talking. You won't find the key to the room. Go away. As there seemed to be no chance of persuading him to help her escape, I decided to go back to the Grange as quickly as possible and rescue her later. What a welcome I received from the servants at the Grange, who thought I was dead. But I did not have time to tell them my story. I went straight to my master's room. He was lying in bed, very weak and close to death. I told him how Heathcliff had trapped us, and that Cathy was probably married to Linton by now. Mr. Edgar realised that his enemy wanted to get hold of the Linton fortune through his son. He asked me to send for his lawyer to make arrangements so that Cathy would not lose all her inheritance. I did as he asked, but the lawyer sent a message saying that he could not come until the next day. I also sent 4 strong men with weapons to Wuthering Heights to demand my young lady's freedom. I was very angry when they returned without her, because Heathcliff had sent them away. But I needn't have worried. In the middle of the night, as I was taking some water to the master, I heard a knock on the front door and went to open it. It was my little mistress. "Ellen! Ellen!" she sobbed. "Is father still alive?" "Yes," I cried, "and thank God you're safe with us again." "I managed to make Linton help me escape from the room. Now I must see father." I could not bear to be present at their meeting. I waited outside the bedroom door, but they were both calm. Cathy's despair was as silent as her father's happiness. He died in perfect peace, Mr. Lockwood. Kissing her, he whispered, "I'm going to join her, and you, dear child, will join us." He did not move or speak again. Cathy did not cry, but sat silently by his dead body all morning. At lunchtime, the lawyer arrived, too late to help Cathy. Heathcliff had bribed him to stay away. He gave us Heathcliff's orders. All the servants, except me, had to leave. Cathy, Mrs. Heathcliff now, was only allowed to stay at the Grange until her father was buried. Chapter 16. Cathy becomes a widow. 1800 to 1801. On the evening after the burial, Heathcliff came to fetch Cathy. "Why not let us stay here with me?" I begged. "I'm looking for someone to rent the Grange from me," he answered. "You'll stay on here as housekeeper, Ellen, but Cathy must come to Wuthering Heights. From now on, she'll have to work for her food." "I shall work," replied Cathy, "and I'll look after Linton. He's all I've got to love in the world. I'm just sorry for you, Mr. Heathcliff. You have nobody to love you. You are as lonely and miserable as the devil. Nobody will cry for you when you die. I'm glad I'm not you. Go and get your clothes, you wicked girl, he said. We'll be leaving in a few minutes. When she had gone, he walked across the room to look at the picture of Cathy's mother, Catherine, which was hanging on the wall. Do you know what I did yesterday, Ellen? He said, turning quickly away from the picture. I went to the churchyard and asked the man who was digging Edgar's grave to open the lid of Catherine's coffin for me. Her face looked just the same. I could not stop looking at her. When the man closed the lid, I broke open one side of her coffin, the side away from Edgar's grave, and covered it up with earth. And I bribed the man to bury me there when I die, next to her, and to take the side of my coffin away too, so that I shall have her in my arms, not Edgar. You were very wicked, Mr. Heathcliff, to disturb the dead. I disturbed nobody, Ellen, and I feel much happier now. She is the one who has disturbed me. For 18 years she has haunted me. You know, I was wild, almost mad after she died. For days I prayed for her ghost to return to me. On the day of her burial, I went to her grave in the evening. There was a bitter wind and snow on the ground. I wanted so much to have her in my arms again. So I dug down through the loose earth to her coffin and was about to pull the lid off when I felt a warm breath on my face. She seemed to be with me, not in the earth, but close to me. I was so happy that she was with me again. I filled in the grave and ran eagerly home to the heights. I looked impatiently round for her. I could feel her, but I could not see her. And since then, she has played plenty of tricks on me like that. When I sleep in her bedroom, I can hear her outside the window or entering the room or even breathing close to me. But when I open my eyes, I'm always disappointed. Slowly, she's killing me with a ghost of a hope that's lasted 18 years. He was talking almost to himself, so I did not answer. When Cathy came in, he stood up, ready to go. "Goodbye, Ellen," whispered my dear little mistress. "Come and visit me." As she kissed me, her face felt as cold as ice. "Oh, no, you won't, Ellen," said Heathcliff. "I'll send for you if I want you." And together they left the Grange. I haven't seen Cathy since then. Once I went to the Heights to visit her, but I was not allowed to see her. About 6 weeks ago, I had a long conversation with Zillah, the housekeeper, who gave me news of Cathy. It appeared that when she arrived at the Heights, she did her best to look after her sick husband. He was obviously dying, although Heathcliff refused to call the doctor. Only a few weeks after her arrival, Linton died in the night, with only Cathy by his bedside. Heathcliff inherited all of Linton's and what had been Cathy's fortune, so Cathy is now very poor. She must be very miserable and very lonely in that dark, unpleasant house. Heathcliff hates her, and Joseph and Zillah don't speak to her because they think she's too proud. Poor Hareton would like to be friendly with her, but she scorns him because he's uneducated. I would like to leave my job here, rent a little cottage, and ask Cathy to come and live with me. But Mr. Heathcliff will never permit that. Of course, if she married again, she could leave that house. But I can't arrange that. Chapter 17. Mr. Lockwood visits Wuthering Heights again.
1802. After hearing the end of Mrs. Dean's story, I made my plans for the future. I decided I did not want to spend another winter at the Grange, and told her I would ride to the Heights to inform my landlord. She handed me a letter to give to Cathy Heathcliff. When I arrived at the gate, Hareton met me and took me into the house. Cathy was there, preparing vegetables for lunch. She did not bother to greet me. She may be beautiful, I thought, but she's not very polite. I passed by her chair and cleverly dropped Mrs. Dean's note in front of her so that Hareton wouldn't see it. She, however, just said aloud, "What's that?" "A letter from the housekeeper at the Grange," I said, annoyed with her. She gasped and tried to pick it up, but Hareton got there first. "Mr. Heathcliff will want to look at this," he said, putting it in his pocket. But when Cathy pretended to cry, Hareton could not bear to make her sad, and he threw the letter down on the table. She eagerly read every word and asked me several questions about the people at the Grange. "Mrs. Dean will want an answer to her letter," I reminded her. "You must tell her that I have no paper or pens to write with. I haven't even any books," she answered sadly. "No books?" I cried. "How can you manage without them in this lonely place?" "I always used to read so much that Mr. Heathcliff decided to take away my only pleasure and destroy my books. I've looked all over the house for them. Joseph only reads the Bible, but some of my books are in Hareton's room. Why did you take them, Hareton? Just because you enjoy stealing? They can't be any use to you." "I think Mr. Hareton wants to learn," I said, hoping to prevent a quarrel between them. "No doubt he took them away to study them." "Yes," replied Cathy, laughing. "I hear him trying to read to himself sometimes, and it's extremely funny. He makes some terrible mistakes." After a moment's shocked silence, Hareton left the room. He returned almost immediately with his arms full of books, and threw them angrily down at Cathy's feet. "Take them," he shouted. "I never want to see them again." "I won't have them now," she said. "I'll hate them because they'll make me think of you." Hareton picked up the books and threw them on the fire, then walked quickly out of the house. Mr. Heathcliff came in as Hareton went out. He had a restless, anxious expression on his face. "Mr. Heathcliff," I said, "I must tell you I'm leaving for London next week, for 6 months, and I shan't want to rent the Grange any more after October. So, Mr. Lockwood, you've got tired of the moors already, have you? Well, have your lunch with Hareton and me anyway. Cathy, take your lunch in the kitchen with Joseph and Zillah. I did not enjoy lunch with my two silent companions, and left the Heights straight afterwards. What a pity, I thought, that Cathy Heathcliff and I didn't fall in love, as Mrs. Dean would have liked. Then I could have taken her away from this miserable place forever. Several months later, in September, I was travelling to visit friends in Yorkshire. I found myself near Thrushcross Grange and decided to spend a night there. After all, I was still paying rent for it. When I arrived, I was surprised to find a different housekeeper, who told me Mrs. Dean had become housekeeper at the Heights. I wanted to have a walk after travelling all day, so I left orders for the woman to cook my supper and prepare a bedroom for me, and I walked the 4 miles to Wuthering Heights. As I came close to the old house, I noticed that there were flowers in the garden, and the doors and windows stood open. I could see 2 people inside, and I stopped for a moment, curious to hear a little of their conversation. "Read it again, stupid," said a voice as sweet as a silver bell. "Read it correctly this time, or I'll pull your hair." "You must kiss me if I get it right," answered a deep voice. The man was sitting at a table, reading from a book. His handsome face shone with pleasure, and his eyes often left the book to look at the small white hand that lay on his shoulder. The girl stood behind him, bending over to help him. Her face. It was fortunate he could not see her face, or he would never have been able to concentrate on his studies. I could see it, and I was bitterly sorry that I had thrown away my chance of seeing that beauty every day of my life. I did not want to disturb their happiness, so I went round to the back door, where I discovered my old friend Ellen Dean. "Oh, Mr. Lockwood, welcome back," she cried. "Are you staying at the Grange again?" "Yes, Mrs. Dean, just for one night. But tell me, why are you housekeeper here now, and not at the Grange?" "Zillah left, you see, and Mr. Heathcliff wanted me here. I have a little business with him, about the rent." "Oh, Mr. Heathcliff is dead, sir. He died 3 months ago. I manage all Mrs. Heathcliff's business for her. She hasn't learned to do it herself yet, you see." "Heathcliff is dead?" I repeated, surprised. "Well, tell me how it happened, Mrs. Dean." "Sit down, sir, and drink some beer. I'll gladly tell you. His life ended very strangely."
Chapter 18. Heathcliff's End, 1801 to 1802. I was delighted to come back to the Heights and hoped I could make Cathy's life more comfortable. But she was restless and complained of loneliness. At first, she continued to annoy Hareton by laughing at him, but after a while, she decided she really wanted him as a friend. She apologised for being rude to him and offered to teach him everything she knew. From that moment on, the two cousins have always been together, studying. Hareton has a lot to learn, and Cathy is not the most patient of teachers. But what they have in common is their love for each other. You see, Mr. Lockwood, it was easy enough to win Cathy's heart, but now I'm glad you didn't try. I'll be the happiest woman in England when those two marry. Heathcliff noticed little of what was happening around him, and would never have been aware of the cousins' feelings if it hadn't been for Joseph. In the middle of our lunch one day, the old man rushed into the room, shaking with anger. I have to leave. I wanted to die here, where I've been a servant for 60 years. But now she's taken my garden from me. She's stolen the boy's soul, master. I can't bear it. Is the fool drunk? Asked Heathcliff. Can you explain this, Hareton? I've pulled up 2 or 3 of his fruit trees, confessed Hareton, but I'll put them back again. It was my fault, added Cathy bravely. I asked him to do it. We wanted to plant some flowers there. Who the devil gave you permission? Growled Heathcliff. You should let me have a bit of garden, as you've taken all my land, replied Cathy sharply. And you've taken Hareton's land too. He and I are friends now. I'll tell him about you. The master stood up, staring at her fiercely. Out of the room, wicked girl, he shouted. I'll kill you if I get near you. If you hit me, Hareton will hit you. He won't obey you anymore, and soon he'll hate you as much as I do. You'd better leave, Cathy, whispered Hareton urgently. I won't quarrel with Mr. Heathcliff. But it was too late. I was sure Heathcliff was going to hit her. He took hold of her, one strong hand in her hair and the other raised over her head. But when he looked into her face, his anger suddenly disappeared, and he let his arm fall to his side. He sat heavily down in his chair and put his hand over his eyes for a moment. We all stared at him. You must learn not to make me angry, he said, trying to be calm. Go away, all of you. Leave me alone. A little later, he went out, saying he would return in the evening. As darkness fell, Cathy and Hareton were busy at their studies in the kitchen. I was sitting with them, happy to see them helping each other so well. I feel they're almost my children, Mr. Lockwood, and I'm very proud of them. As the master entered the house, he had a full view of us 3. They lifted their eyes to meet his. Perhaps you haven't noticed it, but their eyes are very similar, and they are exactly like those of Catherine Earnshaw. Mr. Heathcliff stopped and stared, then looked away. At a sign from me, Cathy and Hareton went quietly out into the garden, leaving me alone with Mr. Heathcliff. It's silly, isn't it, Ellen? He muttered, that I have worked all my life to destroy these 2 families, the Earnshaws and the Lintons. I've got their money and their land. Now I can take my final revenge on the last Earnshaw and the last Linton, and no longer want to. There's a strange change coming in my life. I'm in its shadow. I'm so little interested in daily events that I even forget to eat and drink. I don't want to see those two. That's why I don't care if they spend time together. She only makes me angry, and he looks so like Catherine. But everything reminds me of Catherine. In every cloud, in every tree, I see her face. The whole world reminds me that she was here once, and I have lost her. You don't feel ill, sir, do you? Are you afraid of death? I'm not ill, Ellen, and I'm not afraid to die. But I can't continue like this. I have to remind myself to breathe, almost to remind my heart to beat. I have a single wish, for something my whole body and heart and brain have wanted for so long. Oh, God, it's a long fight. I wish it were finished. For some days after that, Mr. Heathcliff avoided meeting us at meals. He ate less and less. Late one night, I heard him leave the house. He did not return until the morning. When he came in, I noticed a change in his expression. There was a strange, wild happiness in his face, although he was pale and trembling. "Will you have some breakfast, sir?" I asked. "No, I'm not hungry," he answered. "I don't think you should stay outside at night, sir. You'll catch a bad cold or a fever." "Leave me alone, Ellen," he replied. I began to worry about him. He was strong and healthy, but a man must eat in order to live. For the next 3 days, he ate nothing. At every meal, the food lay untouched on the plate in front of him. He did not look at the food or at us. He seemed to be looking at something quite close to him, something we could not see. His fierce black eyes followed it with such eager interest that he sometimes stopped breathing for as much as half a minute. He did not sleep either. For 3 days he had spent the night in Catherine Earnshaw's old bedroom, and I could hear him walking up and down and talking, calling, crying all night. One morning I managed to speak to him and make him listen to me. "Mr. Heathcliff, you must have some food and sleep. Look at yourself in the mirror. You look ill and tired." "It's not my fault that I can't eat or rest. You wouldn't tell a drowning man to rest when he can see the shore. I'm close to what I've wanted for 18 years. Very close. But my soul's happiness is killing my body." "It's a strange kind of happiness, Master. Take my advice and pray to God to forgive you for what you've done wrong in the past, if you think you're going to die." "Thank you, Ellen. You've reminded me of something. It's the way I want to be buried. My coffin will be carried to the churchyard in the evening. You and Hareton will be present, nobody else. And make sure my orders about the 2 coffins are obeyed. I want no ceremony or words from the Bible. I don't believe in any of that." He spent the next night and the next day in Catherine's room, muttering and sobbing all the time. I sent for Dr. Kenneth, but the door was locked, so the doctor could not see him. The following night was very wet, and in the morning, as I walked in the garden, I noticed that the bedroom window was wide open. "He must be very wet if he's in bed," I thought. "The bed is so close to the window. I'll go and look." I found another key which fitted the lock and opened the door. Mr. Heathcliff was there in bed, lying on his back. His eyes were staring at me so eagerly and fiercely, and he seemed to be smiling. His face and clothes were wet from the rain, and he did not move. I realised he was dead. I closed the window. I combed his long black hair from his forehead. I tried to close his eyes, but they would not shut. Suddenly, frightened, I called for Joseph. The old servant came at once, but refused to touch the body. "Oh, the devil's taken his soul! I warned him that would happen," he cried. "You see how wicked he is, smiling at death. But thank God, Hareton Earnshaw will have the house and land now that he should have inherited from his father." And he went down on his knees to pray. Hareton was, in fact, the only one who was sad at Heathcliff's death. He and I were present at the burial. Heathcliff was buried next to Catherine's grave, as he had wished. As we were not sure of his age or anything else about him, there is only one word on his gravestone: Heathcliff. The villagers are very frightened of his ghost. They say he often haunts the churchyard and the moors. Hareton and Cathy will be married on New Year's Day, and they'll move to the Grange. I'll be their housekeeper. Joseph will take care of Wuthering Heights, but most of the rooms here won't be used again. You'll pass the churchyard, Mr. Lockwood, on your way back to the Grange, and you'll see the 3 gravestones close to the moor. Catherine's, the middle one, is old now, and half buried in plants which have grown over it. On one side is Edgar Linton's, and on the other is Heathcliff's new one. If you stay there a moment and watch the insects flying in the warm summer air, and listen to the soft wind breathing through the grass, you'll understand how quietly they rest, the sleepers in that quiet earth.